Coach Schmidt back again. Got Matt here to help us out today. This is going to be the fourth and final installment of our Observing Your Athlete during the warm-up series. Today we saved the best for last in the bodyweight squat. Bodyweight squat, obviously you're going to have all of your athletes and clients performing some type of squat. So before they do that, you're probably going to observe them on a bodyweight squat or an air squat. Okay? So today, what we're going to do is look at 4 different faults or issues that we can see during the bodyweight squat. First one Matt's going to do for us is the knees forward. Alright, so we're going to have Matt perform a couple knees forward squats, talk about what we saw, and some potential ways to fix that. Alright, Matt? Good. Alright, as you can see, it's the top and bottom. When Matt goes to squat, he's initiating the movement with his knees instead of his hips. Oftentimes, we can just address this issue with proper cueing. Okay, so telling the athlete to initiate either butt back, or actually one that we like is hamstrings back first. Okay, hinging at the hips to begin the movement, not the knees first. Sometimes too, once you cue properly, this issue can still arise if they have super tight hip flexors, super tight quads. Okay, so perhaps some mobility work, some flexibility, some rolling and things like that will fix that. But most of the time, this issue can be fixed just with proper cueing and proper technique. Next potential issue that we're going to look for as Matt performs a couple squats is a hyperextension, overextension of the lower back. Okay, this is an obvious issue because anytime you put the spine in a position that it's not supposed to be in and then put a load on it, okay, you're looking for big problems down the road if you let that happen. So again, let's watch Matt, see what it looks like, and then we'll talk about how to fix it. Good. Okay, so as you saw me walk around and point out, it's that lower back, that excessive arch or curve in his lower back is what we're looking for when we're observing the athlete perform the bodyweight squat. And when he does that, again, if you put a load on his back and he's overextending like that, you're placing great forces on the spine in a way that it's not supposed to be placed under. All right, the other thing is when you see that excessive overextension, you can guess that the abs aren't locked in, they're not tight, okay? The trunk is not braced properly, all right? Because if I'm overextended and then I flex my abs, pulls me back into a neutral position. So if I can have that overextension, then chances are I'm not bracing my trunk properly. So if that's happening, you're losing power, okay? If the trunk is not fully braced in the squat, you're going to lose power during that squat. So that's obviously a big issue, something we want to fix. Usually, again, this is a technique thing. It could be a core stability or a core strength issue. So that might be something we want to do. Again, some type of planks and sit-ups and things like that to fix it. It could also be, again, tight hip flexors, tight quads, all right, causing this issue. So again, when you see an issue, there's multiple reasons that could be causing it. You got to start with what you assume it might be, look at that, fix that, move on to the next thing if it doesn't fully fix the issue. Okay, so the third issue we're going to look at today is the knee valgus, okay, or knee collapse during the squat. This is definitely an important one, especially for your athletes to look for, because these knee valgus issues, as I believe I stated in a previous video, are leading to ACL injuries at a very high rate right now, okay? So your ability to spot these things and help your athletes as soon as possible is crucial in helping them prevent those ACL injuries. So let's look at Matt do a couple squats, we'll see his knees collapse, and then talk about what we can do to fix it. Good. so as you saw, as Matt went to squat down, his knees were caving in. All right, that's the knee valgus, the knee collapse. How do we fix that? Well, the technique or the cueing to fix it is creating torque. We talked about torque in the push-up video, the most previous one that we did. Now, that same thing can apply to your lower body as well as it did to your hands. So what we want Matt to do this time is I'm going to cue him, create some torque, all right, through your feet by thinking about screwing your feet into the ground. Now, again, when I tell him this, it's not that his feet are actually going to move, it's just that he's putting that pressure outward, that screwing. Sometimes I'll say too, like pinky toes out against your shoe. All right, that helps the athlete understand that. What he's doing when we tell him to do that as well is that's turning on the glute med. That's turning on the muscles of the, the glute med, also your glute maximus, so your butt muscles. All right, we got to turn those muscles on, get them to be tense throughout the whole movement, and that's what's going to keep his knees out over his ankles where they belong. So let's see Matt perform a couple after I've cued him on the torque. Now, if you notice, if he does it properly and that glute med is tense back here, if I go to push his knee in, okay, I can get it in a little bit, all right, but he's tense. I can feel that that muscle's good. I can feel that that muscle is working properly, okay? I can feel that he understands that torque because I can touch it and feel the tension there, all right? If you push it, if you go to touch an athlete's knee like that and it goes flying in, all right, obviously you don't want to push too hard, you don't want to injure them, but if you push a little bit and you got no resistance there, then you know that they're not understanding that torque cue, all right, and you have to find some different ways to teach it. Now, the other thing with the knee valgus is sometimes it doesn't show up during just a body weight squat. Sometimes it takes the load to see that the athlete is not quite understanding that torque cue, or maybe their glute meds are weak. Okay. Again, it could be a mobility issue. It could be that the adductors are super tight, everything's being pulled in, but more likely than not, it's either weak glute med or not understanding how to create that torque. The fourth issue that we're going to go over on the bodyweight squat today is going to be the feet turning out in the bottom of the squat. Okay. So I'm going to have Matt show a couple of those, then we'll talk about why this may happen, how we can potentially fix it. Good. Okay, so what you saw there was as Matt continued to descend to the bottom of the squat, his feet started to turn out. The first thing that we can conclude from that is if we know about proper squat mechanics, we want to have the weight centered over the middle of the foot. Alright, so if you think really like big toe, pinky toe, heel, those should all be planted into the ground as you're creating your torque like we just talked about. So the weight essentially should be over the center of your foot because you're using the front and back of your foot to place pressure into the ground. So what you notice if his foot can turn is that all of his weight is on his heel. So the first thing we can do is talk to him, is cue him on, okay, here's how you set up your foot for the squat. Now, if that doesn't work, usually this one is tight muscles, okay? It could be hips, quads, heel cords, all right, so calves could be super tight, Achilles tendon could be super tight. So there's some mobility drills and things that we can do to help loosen those up and hopefully fix that issue. All right, that's going to conclude our fourth installment of the Observing Your Athletes in the Warm-Up series. Thank Matt for helping us out today with the bodyweight squat video, and we look forward to seeing you in future posts.